To discuss the NRC report further, we're now joined live by Dr. Franklin Nyamsi, president of the African Freedom Institute. Welcome. So the Norwegian Refugee Council has cited data and criticized Western countries for their biased support for Ukraine in comparison to other nations in need. What do you make of this?
Thank you. For many centuries now, African people know that Westerners have never respected the same principles in international politics when the situation concerns the West and when the situation concerns Africa. When the situation concerns the West gives his maximum. When the situation concerns Africa, Asia, or every other country of the world, the West gives the minimum. This is, in fact, a strategy of domination of all the planet by not respecting equally the principle defended in the United Nations charters, in the international declarations, and in what can I say, the ideology of human rights. Africa knows very clearly that, in fact, that very imbalance of support for Ukraine in comparison to other nations is a strategy of control of Africa, of control of African natural resources through the instrumentalization of chaos, of disorder. And there is a wonderful book of Naomi Klein talking about the use of disaster as a way to control the wealth of the world.
Yeah, disaster capitalism. And also wanted to ask you what the reasoning behind the West's dedication is to the Ukraine crisis compared to the silence or indifference, as you just mentioned, when it comes to Burkina Faso, Afghanistan, and beyond. Perhaps is race and history a factor?
For sure. If you can't respect the same principles, when Western interests are involved and when African interests are involved, it is probably because you have a conception of mankind, which is not a concrete and coherent conception. In fact, the chaos, the disaster, the disorder in Africa is originated in Western policy in Africa. Take the case of the Sahelian countries, the Sahelian states, like Burkina Faso, Niger, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Mali. You will see that those countries are in a serious destabilization after the intervention of NATO in 2011 in Libya, where they killed Gaddafi, they destroyed Libya, and they destabilized all the Sahelian zone, and moreover, all Africa. So chaos in Africa is clearly created by Western policies because it is the condition to control the political elite and to control the commodities, the natural and strategic resources of the continent. So we are not surprised. A race is clearly under this strategy because for 6 centuries now, the Western policies have never considered African people like equals to Westerners.
There seems to be an emergence counter-movement towards this, the rise of BRICS. Do you believe that this clear bias in assistance will help affect future cooperation between Africa and the West? Do you see a shift in world relations?
If the West does not change this bias, the cooperation will not be interesting for the two parts of the relation. In fact, Africa is involved now in the multipolar building of the world because in that multipolarity family of politics, like the BRICS and so on, Africa has the possibility to play its key role, its key function as one of the richest continents of the world and one of those continents who have the benefits of a long traditional civilization, able to bring values like truth, justice, and solidarity in addition for a better world for all of us. It is clear that if the West persists in that bias, Africa will be lost for a long time for the West because African people are now seeking equal relation, mutual benefiting relations with all the other parts of the world. And it is in the multipolar world that we have a chance, we have a possibility to build our own sovereignty, our own hope, our own prosperity.
Now, what changes ultimately do you think are needed to be made in order to better assist African countries most in need? Do you think they're better off than without Western assistance?
The first change is a change of mentality. The Westerners must recognize in all the domain of life that all human beings are equal. They are equal not only because they come from the same nature, but even in a religious point of view. The main religions of this planet, all of them say that all human beings are coming from the same Father God or the same Mother God. So the first revolution for the Western policies and for everybody on this earth is to recognize that we are all sons and daughters of this earth. The second revolution is to recognize that there is no need for one nation, for one continent, for one power to dominate all the others. And this means, and this needs that books like The Grand Chessboard of Zbigniew Brzezinski, these kind of books must be criticized and they must be changed because Brzezinski and many Western thinkers believe that the American primacy and its geostrategic imperatives must lead the world. In the new world of peace, of mutual recognition to come, there is no country that has the responsibility to lead all the other countries. In fact, we need to recognize that it is through consensus, negotiation, mutual respect, sovereignty of each nation that will build a better world. So the change must come from the spirituality, and finally, it must be realized on economical, political, and social international relations.
Thank you for that, Dr. Franklin Nyamsi, president of the African Freedom Institute. Thank you.
Thank you so much.